All right. Patch notes. For the base game, we have the newly announced subclassing system available for all to try. We can't wait to see what custom builds you will come up with. In addition to subclassing, we have a good chunk of combat and item changes, along with bug fixes. These changes are meant to complement the addition of subclassing. We have many quality of life features coming to the base game. Okay, so balance, quality of life, and subclassing. Very exciting. Let's jump to it, huh? So first they have Seasons of the Worm Cult, new zone, new trial, achievements, item sets. You guys want to look at that real quick? Oh, there's a new Mythic too. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. New sets. There are unique item sets in the new trial. Perfected versions only found veteran difficulty. All right, same old here. Magicka. 1 magic recovery for every 100 magicka you have. Or okay. Who wants max magicka anyway? There's a medium crit chance, recovery, max stam adds crit chance when you have 50% or more stamina. Reduce the cost of your core combat abilities while you have less than 50% of your stamina. It's nice they put in no numbers here. No idea what I'm reading. Adds health, stamina. While you have food buff active, your block mitigations increase, block costs reduced. Fucking disgusting. Still doing those kind of sets. Blocking. Okay. Crafted. Weapon and spell damage. Crit chance. Pen. Increase your direct damage done to monsters. It's the trial set. Weapon damage. Spell damage. Slayer. Spell and weapon. Add spell and weapon. Perfected only. While in combat, activating a synergy grants you a stack of Harmonize for 10 seconds. Up to 5 stacks. You can gain 1 stack every 0.5 seconds. Increase your weapon and spell damage per stack. This is probably pretty strong. But, who knows? No numbers. What are they called? Your writs, man. You're doing your writs. Look at it in the background. Old Buffalo. Back and forth. Thanks for 49 months. Welcome back. I appreciate it. Good morning. Hope your Monday's going good. Mine started with all of my add-on variables getting reset. I'm beyond mad. Mine's going, it's going all right. I didn't have any add-on problems, so yeah. We're just jumping to the patch notes. We're just getting started, actually. Thank you for the resub. I appreciate it. The Mythic Ring is stupid OP. All right, slow down. Slow down. Easy Nifty, 82 months. Welcome back. Thank you for the resub. Appreciate that. So far, all we have is a stupid block set, which doesn't really matter, but it's not healthy. Never was. This is probably pretty good, this Harmony set, but maybe the numbers suck. When we do 100,000 overhealing, like this is a problem if we're doing 100,000 overhealing. That means you're already at full health, and the game's still tracking your heals coming in. So it's tracking at least 100,000 worth of overhealing. Calculations. Why is the game lagging? Your energy max is out, granting you convergence release synergy. When you activate this synergy, restore stamina magic to yourself and group members within 28 meters. When activating convergence release, you cannot store overhealing for 30 seconds. Great. Perfect for ball groups. Dude, like, I mean, all right. They really, this is probably I'm gonna say this a couple times, but they really just need to do vengeance. Like, Game's kind of dead. Like outside of like the balance wise, it's just like it's kind of crazy. Does it even matter like what changes come or what subclassing brings when like you just have ball groups still working the way you do and all that in Cyrodiil? There's like hardly any people in Cyrodiil, so what the fuck are we talking about? You know? Just I don't know. All right. Next set, weapon damage. Pen weapon damage. When dealing area direct damage, place a sword above one enemy. You cannot place a sword on an enemy who already has one above. Who has one from you. After 6 seconds, it falls, dealing physical. The damage cannot critically strike and scales off weapon or spell. The effect deals an additional 33% for each sword you have on other enemies. Okay. Yeah, that's probably pretty strong. I don't know. We have no numbers. What are we doing here? Adds health, armor, health, stamina on the next set. Embracing, create a distortion barrier over yourself. You gain armor and enemies within the barrier have their armor reduced for 2 seconds. Both occur every 2 seconds, can stack up to 3 times. Okay. Mythic, a shoulder mythic. Reduce the damage of your light attacks by 50%. Dealing damage with light attack restores magic or stamina depending on which equipped weapon type. Gain additional resources when damaging an off-balance enemy and less resources when damaging a blocking enemy. Increase the damage of your heavy attacks by... Increase the damage of your heavy attacks by... Increase the damage of your heavy attacks by 50%. Alright. Heavy attacks no longer restore resources. Okay. So, didn't they nerf the DK skill doing lots of heavy attack damage because they were afraid of heavy attack stacking? Or do we have short-term memory loss still? Anyway. Ring. While in combat, your primary weapon gain major force, minor berserk, and minor vuln. Weapon gets major force, minor berserk, and minor vuln. Like you take minor vuln? While in combat on your secondary, gain major protection, minor vitality. What's timidity? Is this a kiss curse that we get minor vuln? But we're still getting minor berserk and major force. It's pretty strong. Back bar major protection's pretty strong. And it's only a ring, so it's not bad. Yeah, it's great for Nightblades. They're minor vuln and minor timidity are the downsides. Yeah, I just don't know what timidity is. That's what I'm asking. What does it do? Drains one ult every second for 10 seconds? Oh, okay. Alright, well, it's good we got Major Force back in the game. Full uptime somewhere for Nightblades. Anyway. Alright. Yeah. Woo. Okay, we're going to move on forward. Let's keep it rolling. Yeah. We got collectibles. Yeah, general takeaway. The gear is just like... We sell power. We sell power here, and it's not for a better future, that's for sure. The Hero's Return. ESO is a very large game where you can do lots of things. However, with all these things to choose from, it can be difficult to know where to start when you come back to Tamriel. Alright, don't care about this. We got the welcome back screen and rewards. Alright, this is more like daily stuff. Okay, people love this shit. Not me. Here we go. Subclassing. Welcome to Subclassing in ESO. This exciting new feature grants you the power to use abilities from other skill lines. There is a small quest to unlock the new feature. Check the Crown Store. When selecting skill lines through Subclassing, you can get up to 2 other skill lines from other classes. You cannot get 2 skill lines from one other class. Example, you cannot be a Dragonknight and have 2 Templar skill lines. But you could be a Templar with 2 skill lines and 1 Dragonknight. Okay. To have 2 Templar skill lines and a Dragonknight skill line, you will have to be a Templar. Yeah, okay. Subclass skill lines share progression across your entire account. Subclassing will work with armory builds. We look forward to your feedback about combinations of your skill lines as well as experiencing the system as a whole. That's it. Those are the rules. All right, let's check out the balance changes. Combat gameplay. Greetings. I get triggered when I read that now. This year marks ESO's 11th anniversary. This update marks the special occasion with a very exciting feature, subclassing. This feature allows any of your pre-existing future characters potentially learn advanced skill lines that would normally be exclusive to a specific class. As such, you can expect this patch to be chock full of adjustments to functionality, numbers, and so on regarding abilities and sets. As exciting as this is, it's also a little scary, as it introduces a brave new world by allowing our characters to do things that weren't necessarily always intended or thought when they were first made. This update is focused on realizing the full vision for your character and allowing for more player skill customization to truly play your way. Much like the traditional Elder Scrolls experience, you'll be able to make your own custom class effectively by mixing and matching these skill lines to create unique experiences. As such, we're shifting much of our focus on the balance end to look at the skill lines as a modular toolkit that offers a handful of strengths and gameplay advantages, while trying to better compare them to other skill lines that focus on specific gameplay elements or roles. Many abilities were originally designed to be outliers to enable a class to stand toe-to-toe with others in certain aspects. These abilities are getting adjusted. Now things aren't always as simple as, say, comparing Dragonknight versus Necro. This patch focuses on trying to bring into line many of those abilities while also reinforcing the core themes of a skill line. We want to reiterate, this is very much a first stab at this new way to explore and exist in Tamriel. We'll be looking at your feedback, not only to guide adjustments during this update cycle, but future update cycles as well. Translation is, we're making a first stab, not just for now, but for later. It's going to be fucking wild. There's going to be problems. We're very much looking forward to see how you plan on augmenting your characters and play styles, new antics you can achieve, and overall feedback on gameplay and balance. They describe combat as antics now. Please make sure to participate in the official forums and other feedback avenues. Thanks for joining us on this journey. It's a journey too. All right. Let's jump into combat and abilities. I missed the boots for what? Mythics earlier? All right. Let me check it out. I did. Yeah, I went right over it, dude. The Mad God's dancing shoes while in combat, roll dodging creates a random effect. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds. Create a cheese wheel under an enemy for 15 meters that deals magic damage to enemies in 3 meters. Deal physical damage to enemies facing you after 1.5 seconds. Deal magic damage to the nearest enemy. Gain major expedition for 4.5 seconds. Restore stamina. Gain ult. Reduce the cost of your next non-ult ability. Great. I'm glad we went back to that one, guys. Cheese wheels. Let's jump back to combat. All right. Updated the rules and behaviors for reaching the combat pet limit. Previously, reaching 10 summons or corpses of summons would outright prevent the summoning of further pets regardless of this sorcerer type. This was most likely experienced in case where necromancers when you had a high amount of corpse generating abilities, such as Bannered Bear, Grave Grasp. Yeah, no one's using that skill. And Sacrificial Bones, where once you had enough summons and corpses active, your abilities would simply stop functioning. We saw also rise in reports mostly where Blighted Blast Bones would fail to activate. With subclassing in mind, we've had to go back to this experience and flesh it out since it is far more likely to reach that cap, as well as introduce a new hard cap in PvP environments, where these experiences could create highly problematic gameplay experiences on lower spec hardware. While in a PvE zone, the limitation will be 10 pets, while in PvP, limitation is now 5. 5? Why? Does that mean if you use the Necro ult, it summons 3 blast bones, you can't have more than 2 pets? That's pretty limiting. At attempt to create a new summon, the oldest one while active will now despawn. Also corpses. Why not? Okay, like 10, just, I don't think people are pumping more than 10 then, right? So just leave it at 10 for PvP. It's not like there's a lot of Necros, but you're actually creating a situation where the Necro using its one ultimate, if that counts corpses, active pets, and now we're throwing in subclassing, they're definitely going to be impacted. Needlessly, too. Okay, there's not a lot of Necros running around to begin with. You know? Like, let's... Okay. There's other things we could cut for performance and lower spec hardware. Like maybe not putting in a set for 100,000 HP overhealing. Proc a condition. Spitballing. I mean, there's... But okay. The exceptions to the rules are as follow. Oh, maybe I should have read this. Permanent ultimate source summons cannot be replaced by other summons. If you attempt to summon at the cap when only permanent or unique summons are present, the attempted summon will instead just fail. Okay, it just won't do anything. Alright, this is just dumb. Alright, they should more than 5. Even if it was like 7 or 8, there's like immediate things where like you're not trying to make a lot of corpses, where you're just trying to use... I'm specifically talking about the Blast Bones ultimate that summons 3 things. I'm specifically thinking that it's over 50% of the cap. One skill. It's just weird. It's almost like you're not even... It's like you don't even know that skill exists because 5's too much. Or too little, rather. Alright. To combat the likelihood of experiencing the cap, we've made some adjustments to the lifespan of the most egregious contenders. Summoned corpses. Sacrificial bones and morphs now... Morph's corpses now persist for 5 seconds, down from 6. Come on, dude! What? The signature script class mastery when paired with Necro will now create a corpse that lasts for 5 seconds, down from 10. Ghostly Embrace and the Morph's created corpse in a 3rd area now persists for 5 seconds, down from 10. You're... You're needlessly like nerfing a class and you're like, this is for bounce. Dude, this is the kind of... We're not even into actual changes and this is already frustrating. This is like... And look how much like space this guy... I didn't even know this existed. This is something you fix without ever talking about it. It'd be like, hey, someone found this and be like, oh, okay, you know, all right. And like, it's... We're creating too many corpses. Is that creating a problem? This is like removing deer in Cyrodiil. Like, this isn't the problem. Okay? It's when a character has, you know, 47 buffs active on him. And you know, 6 different heals running. While he's combating, you know, 11 different dots on him. Like, it's just... That's more calculations than your corpses coming and going. Like, holy fuck. Alright, let's keep it rolling, dude. Holy shit, that's bad. The following abilities now actively suppress sneaking and visibility from their caster while active. They suppress sneaking. Okay, so if you have these on you, you can't go into stealth now. Scorch, Bone Goliath, Frozen Gate, all variants of Banner Bearer. Okay. Why? But okay. I think active like PBAUEs on their interval should reveal. Hurricane's an example. Hurricane won't bring you out. But whatever. Alright. The following abilities now actively remove sneaking invisibility when they tick. Oh, okay, we're probably gonna get to it then. Magma armor and morphs. Radial sweep, sleet storm, eye of the storm. I see a cauterized spirit mender. Spirit mender? Am I thinking of the right? Okay, my bad. Isn't spirit mender the healing thing? Am I? What? That's not an AoE, right? Am I crazy? The healing ghost? Why would that reveal people? What? Bro, is Hurricane not on this list? When I'm seeing a lot of the following abilities now remove sneaking invisibility, lightning form, okay, and morphs. Solar barrage, Arctic blast, blade cloak, okay. All right. I mean, I'll try this out. Spirit, I don't get Spirit Mender. It's for subclassing. Okay. It's technically an AoE because it heals targets in an AoE around you. Yeah, but that's technically stupid. It's not doing like things that tick an offensive effect around you would reveal, and that would make sense to me. Listen, I hate Nightblades, but like, what? Spirit Mender. I don't know. All right, whatever. You know, let's just keep it rolling, dude. Fix an issue where many passive sources of major and minor effects are not properly categorized as a proc, allowing them to trigger recursive behaviors. Sources of cost reduction that grant a flat amount, namely jewelry enchantments, will no longer work with abilities. A flat amount that drain their cost multiple times over on the activation, such as Sated Fury or Ash Cloud. Okay. Alright, Spearmender already screwed with sneaking anyways. The ghost was never invisible. If you were to sneak or invis and gave away your location, so instead of fixing that problem, they just made it fully reveal you. Sorry, I totally read these backwards, and now I get it. You're saying if you have any of these active, while you are invisible, that you will be revealed. But I figured all these would do that already, right? And this is for subclassing, which totally makes sense now. I thought they were saying these things would reveal things from stealth. They're casters. Yeah, I fucking missed this thing. Okay. Okay. This all makes sense. I get it. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Whatever. All right. Moving on. God, subclassing with stealth is just going to be so weird. All right. Not the last one. That reveals others. Following abilities now remove sneaking invisibility from their caster when they successfully hit a target. Yeah, these means like if I have Hurricane and I stealthed and I walk up to someone, Hurricane ticks, I come out. These ones just happen whether they hit someone or not, if they just tick. And if these things are up, your ass is coming out. Can't be an invisible Bone Goliath. Can't be invisible with a frozen gate. That's what they're saying. Okay. I got it. Core combat abilities. Crouch. When successfully transitioning from detected to hidden after crouching, the effect state sneak is now visible on your effect bar. Additionally, sneak can be hovered over in the character sheet to read what the effect does. Dragonknight. Combustion. This passive now increases the damage done from burning and poison by 16 and 33% and restores magic and stamina when applied down from 40% and 1,000. Alright, lowering this passive. Warmth. This passive now causes direct damage to ardent flame abilities to increase the damage an enemy takes from your damage over time attacks by 6% of their, and reduce move speed by 30% instead of only reducing their movement speed. Okay. Not much. DK is back. Yeah? Yeah. Alright. So that's Ardent Flame. Slight change here. You can do 6% more damage from dots. This is down. Draconic Leap. This ability in Smorts will now grant a very minor grace period of its crowd control immunity after reaching their target. This is to correct some very rare cases where some CC abilities such as Root of Eldritch Horror cause the ultimate to lock you in place right as you landed on an enemy, causing the damage and knockback to become desynced until the stun ended. These abilities have always granted CC immunity while leaping, but previously it was removed immediately upon reaching your target. Also now it persists for 100 milliseconds afterwards to ensure the ability properly completes. Okay. Burning Heart. This passive now increases your healing received. The Draconic ability is active 9%, down from 12%. Scaled Armor. This passive now increases your physical spell resist by 29, up from 1650. Okay. Other Dragon. This passive now increases your health recovery by 323, up from 258. Stone Fist. Stone Giant. This more stacks will now properly be removed when using the ability. The ultimate, for this Magma Armor, the ultimate Magma Shell now also disables ult generation when they are active. Additionally, these ultimates are no longer removed when clicking their effect in the character sheet. Battle Roar. This pass now restores health, magic, and stamina per ult spent. Down from this. All right, I'm seeing down. What do you got? There's people in the chat. DK is back. What are you juiced about, dude? What are we talking here? I'm just seeing a lot of down. Pretty much sustain down here. Sustain on Battle Roar down. Armor was up. Was the only thing, I think. Like, just knocking down numbers a bit. Down from, it was 25, I got 50. This now restores 37 health, magic, and stamina per ult spend. Down from 50. Am I what? You missing on the boosted pass? Am I reading backwards today? This now restores down from 50. Wow, Young Rob's here, not helping to add any clarity. No more ult gen and corrosive magma. There wasn't with corrosive. They changed it for magma as well to include it. This guy's lost. You're reading it right. Yeah, there's like multiple people celebrating. What am I missing? Can someone help? Rob, you can't read. Shut up, dude. Just talk about Rust. All right, talk to yourself for a little bit. Sounds like it's 50 and now it's going to be 25. That's what I'm saying. Right? 35 level 1, 50 level 2. That's what I'm saying. Increased healing, increased resist, increased health recovery. All right, let me... Does now increase your healing received is active by... Okay, so you're saying this was increased. This passive now increases your healing received while an ability is active by 9%. Down from 12%. What? This is a nerf, right? Right? Night Squirrel, stay with me. Where are we right now? What's going on? Are you fucking with me? Are you just joining in with all... There was like 6 people here pounding their chests. Like, are you guys losing it? Yeah, I think I read all nerfs except armor, pretty much. And I'm not saying like they're dead or whatever, but like these are... This was added on. They tacked this on, which is like kind of a 6% dot buff, or if you want to combine like Arcanist with DK, right?
Hello, cutie pie.
Wow, 20. Infamous. Good morning. Good afternoon. Welcome, dude. Thank you for gifting in 20. How you doing, dude? What's going on? Thank you for those gifts. I appreciate it. Thank you. Read the next 2. The next 2 what? All right, I'll read the one right after this. This one's an increase. This passive now increases your resistance by 2,900, up from 1650. Agreed. I did say this one. This passive now increases your health recovery by 323, up from 258. Okay, but who cares about health recovery? All right, this one's down. Burning Heart's down. Big ones, I think Battle Roar being down's big. Magma Armor just matches the other one. No real change here, but Combustion was another big one along with Battle Roar. Combustion. Okay. This passive now increases the damage done. Restores 423 magic and stamina when applied. Down from 1,000. Okay? From 1,000, half would be 500. This motherfucker's now at 423. Because this fucking nerd cranked some numbers and said, this calculates to 423 on the spreadsheet. Alright? So this is down big. And Battle Roar went from 50 to 37. Put these two together, functionally, this feels a lot different on sustain. These are my general takeaways. Armor's up a little bit, sure, okay. Health recovery's up a little bit, okay. But does that offset these? No. So how am I'm just wondering, what are we talking here? What are we talking about? The wording is weird. They say healing is increased. When they say increase, though, they're saying this is the passive now looks like this on the stat sheet, and the passive reads as such. This passive increases your damage, and you have to see what it was, and then what it will be. Listen, I know, dude. This isn't meant to be like clearly read. All right. You gotta read carefully, though. Okay. I already fucked up on this, okay? Listen, as soon as you see this shit, greetings. You're in fucking trouble, dude. All right, so read carefully and take your time, okay? So we're gonna move on from Dragonknight. Not much change. Sustains down significantly, I'd say, right? The only big change good is the armor buff being doubled. Yeah, and it's not crazy. You know, you're getting like 1,300 armor. Okay, cool. Not bad. The health recovery's in there. I'd say the dot thing is relevant. The 6% dot increase across the board if you combine this for a dot build, which a lot of people probably will put forth a heavy DK dot pressure build. So this one's actually super impactful. But we're going to move on. I'm not the beacon of knowledge for ESO balance because I don't keep up with it right now. But, you know, can't forget about 6% dots in exchange for sustain being killed. Yeah, no, it's definitely there. I'm just saying DK has always been a beast in its ability to sustain through passives like Battle Roar, which they're kind of like, when I ult, I sustain. When I'm dotting, I'm sustaining. These things are going to be knocked down a notch. However, you know, if you combine this with other classes, you can pick up sustain elsewhere. So it's not like it's not, you know, able to be made up. But to the guy that was just like someone literally in chat was like, GK favorite class buffed again, and it's just like, you know, it's not. This is a, you know, a little up, a little down. So whatever. Okay. I'd rather not lose my sustain, but you know, it is what it is. Okay. Can you link it, please? There we go. Thank you for the link. What's up? Thank you again, Infamous. That was me. My fault. I read the notes wrong. No, it's okay. I was just... All right, let's keep going. Akui's in here. Akui, are you... Oh, no, he just... Never mind. So thank you for the gifted... Okay, Templar. Adric Spear, puncturing strikes. This ability in Smorfs now deal damage to 6 closest enemies rather than having no target. These abilities no longer deal normal damage to the closest enemy and then deal lesser damage to other enemies hit. They now deal full damage to all targets hit, up to a new cap of 6. Each enemy is snared rather than only the first. Okay. Big. This is going to bring back EMAC, maybe. Let's read the developer comment. With subclassing now in place, we're placing target cap on this ability in efforts to prevent it from becoming too dominant. To make sure this skill is still viable, we're removing the reduced damage against other nearby enemies hit. So it still stands out as a unique and powerful skill that serves a purpose, focusing on immense cleave damage. How wide does it cleave, though? You know? And honestly, like using this in Cyrodiil, like on a crowd, it's not. You can cleave a flag, but like outside of that, You know? Just kind of sliding. I feel like I'm just sliding around on oil. But okay. Jabs buff? Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. Okay. The big thing here I think is cool is full damage to whatever else hit. You know? That's actually pretty cool. This is huge versus pets. Pets fucking take like 90% reduced damage, don't they? From AoEs. Yes, Infamous, that's correct. Okay, puncturing sweeps. Reduce the healing done by this morph to 25% of the damage done, down from 33%. This will result in less healing against one enemy, while being almost the same against two, and increasing greatly at 3+ enemies. Note that the heal of this morph was always capped at 6 enemies hit, so that part remains unchanged. Biting jabs. This morph now has increased chance per hit, 10% per enemy rather than 3%. To apply Sundered, rather than increasing the damage to less hit, full damage to all targets. Okay. So Sundered chance. Burning Light passive. This passive now scales off 50% of your weapon and spell damage, rather than 42% of your weapon and spell damage, and 4% of your max magic and stamina. Increases status effect chance per hit to 10%, up from 3. All right, status effects. That's a big movement upward. The weapon damage, spell damage isn't huge. I don't know if the max magic or stamina was there before or whatever. It's a bit, but I don't know. Okay. So far so good on the Templar. Spearball. This passive now grants minor berserk and protection for 6 seconds after activating an Atrix Spear ability, rather than only minor protection. Wow. Stocks are going up with the Templar. The jabbers are coming out. Okay. They're coming out. The Templar Wardens, I can see it right now. Coming out with Ice Storm and Shocks, just jabbing through people. Piercing Spear. Buff this passive's increase to crit damage and damage done to blocking targets by 12%, up from 10%. Wow. Take that, blocking targets. Spear Shards. Increase the damage of the residual damage over time from this ability and the Luminous Shards by 20% to make up for the 1 second delay this ability has. Okay. Luminous Shards. This morph now also allows the caster to be eligible for their own synergy. Templars are coming in. Blazing Spear decreases damage from this initial hit on the morph by 23%. Increase the residual damage over time by 53%. This will result in a 10% damage increase for the entire ability if enemies remain inside the area. Okay, we don't really care, but okay. Alright. So far, it's looking good. Templars are coming back. The Fooplar. Dawn's Wrath Backlash. The final hit of this ability is more so no longer miss some enemies. Radiant Destruction. Increase the time this ability can be channeled to 4.8 seconds, up from 1.8 seconds, to reduce the need to constantly activate the skill. This ability's morphs now costs 1,157 magicka per tick, rather than having an upfront cost of 2,950 to ensure it drains resources closer to other execute abilities, while still remaining cheaper than others since it's far more restrictive. Increase the damage per tick of this ability's morphs by 12%. Adjusted the execute scaling to now start at 30% health and gaining up to 500% bonus damage, rather than starting at 50% health and gaining 480%. Okay. Everything sounded poggers until it's ramping off 30 and not 50%. This ability in this morphs are now dodgeable in efforts to help prevent it from being a complete death sentence at low health and PvP areas. Dude, I bet Brian Wheeler died. Did he PvP? In the last year, probably died to it, and they're like, what the fuck is this ability? What the fuck happened to me? I couldn't live. I just got hit for 10k. What the fuck? Good. All right, I'm down for it. I think this skill should work differently, but this is one way to do it. I don't think it should be dodgeable, but I think they should have fixed it in a different way. It shouldn't have ticked up front. It's something that should have channeled its strength. But it shouldn't take 4.8 seconds. But it shouldn't have... Here's the biggest problem with Radiant that it had. The very moment you activated this skill, its first tick happened. And it was big. And it immediately had another tick coming in after it. This was really its biggest problem up front. It shouldn't have even ever had that first tick. But whatever, here we are. Get fucked, beam losers. Watch the Nightblades just roll dodge with their Khajiit tails as they go into stealth and escape. They're out of here. You're not getting them anymore. Now the subclassing is here. We're adjusting some numbers and functionality on this execute to give it more defined strengths and weaknesses in hopes that it doesn't eclipse other execute options. The higher commitment time and cost per tick should ensure it has slightly more risks with channeling it. The base damage is increasing for cleaner math. What's cleaner math? While the execute scaling is being adjusted so it doesn't outright beat other executes, while retaining the power fantasy of melting very low health enemies. Lastly, we're making this execute dodgeable as an exception to improve some of the counterplay in PvP. Glad we had the roleplay of the melting power fantasy experience in this multifaceted explanation of this skill. Thank God we have absolute technicians at work here. I love it. The cleaner math too. That was just chef's kiss on just redesigning Radiant Destruction. God bless it. Here, what else do we have? The morphs too. Radiant Glory. This morph now reduced the base cost to 771 per tick. 33% cheaper. Rather than restoring a small chunk of magicka per tick based on missing health. You know, it could be 780 per tick, and I think the math would be cleaner, and I don't think anyone would notice or complain. I'm just saying. I'm here for helpful advice, but you could do it. You could round it down to 770 too. I don't think people are going to complain, and it might be cleaner math. I don't know. All right, they increased the healing done to 20% of the damage done per tick, up from 17%. All right, I like it. That's clean. This Radiant Oppression, this morph now causes the execute scaling to begin at 39% health, rather than increasing the execute scaling bonus damage by 20%. 39? Okay. All right, overall, it's probably not too bad, honestly. It just sounds like, because it's not like they spread the power of 1.8 over 4.8. In doing this, they just made it a lot cheaper. That's all they really did. Because people are not channeling this for this long. They're just not. You know, that's enough time to put your target on, do a 360 in your chair after removing your headphones, put them back. You could do all sorts of stuff in 4.8. Spreadsheets disagree with you. No, they wouldn't. But whatever. Beam, it's dodgeable. That's probably the biggest, most relevant thing there. Very impactful, and Templars are probably not going to enjoy that aspect of it. All right. Oh, we're not done, though. We have Restoring Light. Healing Ritual. This ability to morphs no longer ignore line of sight. Okay. Interesting. That's the circle thing, right? So, I don't know if I like that. But alright, whatever. Mending. This pass now increases all your healing done up to 13% based on your target's missing health, rather than only increasing your Restoring Light. Alright, this is a huge buff. Not only for subclassing, but with Resto. This is huge. Wow. Templars. First, the jab change. Radiant Glory you deserve, alright? This is low-tier shit gameplay, just beaming people. But getting in there, getting involved in the fight and jabbing people and buffing that kind of gameplay, hell yeah. About time, dude. And then this is big. They can activate their own synergy. Lightweaver. This passive now causes you to automatically block all attacks at no cost for 2 seconds when you start any channel or cast time ability up to once every 15 seconds. This passive no longer grants armor while channeling Rite of Passage. This passive will not attempt to activate if you already have a form of automatic block. It's a shield wall. Ooh. Ooh. We're swapping this passive defensive functionality from the highly niche and ineffective armor bonus while using the ultimate of the skill line. It's a far more useful and unique defensive bonus. This works for any channeled or cast time ability, including heavy attacks. What? The light protects. You fucking losers. You've never been in PvP. Heavy attacks, too? You can activate your own Nova. No, that was just for the spear toss. You can pick up your own shards. Can't bash beam anymore because they're blocking for 2 seconds. Will that be the case? It won't be interruptible? Either way, Templar getting a little too much juice, maybe. Some might say a little too much. Raw just passive healing being a big one. Big one. Mending change. Big. That's a big number. The jabs is really cool, and I love it. Especially for a skill that they went out of their way to make it look worse, and then try to tell everyone they didn't make it worse. And we've all just lived with it. Being like, things get worse as time goes on, and shittification is real, and we just deal with it. But at least it doesn't hit as shitty. So that's kind of cool. And then, yeah, like, they did something to the beam, which, okay. Weren't people, they said this is useless too? This is the Templar ult, right? Rite of passage? There were people that just did ult gen builds and BGs that would just fucking walk around just ulting. Like 50% of the time they were in ult with this shit, right? Do a link to the patch notes? Yeah. You know what? I do. People keep asking, I'm gonna get my mouse activated. Huge buff for ball groups. Yeah. Ball groups take another dub. Rest ult was better for that. I always preferred rest ult, but there are people that chain Templar ults. And honestly, for 8v8s, I don't know. Templar ult's probably better. Anyway, whatever. Templar, there you go. There's the changes. Overall, they're looking nice. I think that you could probably do some fun shit with their spear now on the class subclassing. Yeah. Okay. Nightblade. Jesus. Here we go. This is usually where things start going downward. All right. So everybody, buckle up. You know, don't panic. Don't overreact. Assassination. Master Assassin. This passive now increases your crit chance by 8.8% against enemies you flank, rather than penetration by 3k on enemies you flank. This passive no longer extends the duration of stun from sneak. Okay. L. We're changing the reward for flanking enemies to something less difficult to build around. This penetration tends to be a stat that is most helpful when it is consistent. The bonus is now a % chance effect, helping it feel like an additional reward you want to get when you can, rather than a flat power increase that creates the sensation you're losing power when conditions are not met. Ooh, that's deep. I like that. Okay. So hopefully you all feel all the Nightblades. Hopefully hopefully that sensation rings for you guys. Big W for PvE though. Huge. Yeah. It's actually a big crit chance %. But for like raw gank build type stuff, you're coming out of stealth, whatever. Okay. Anyway. Pressure points. Increase the crit chance rating to 2.5% per assassination ability slotted. Up from 2%. Wow. Huge. More crit chances coming in. Okay. Grim Focus. I mean, this isn't bad. If you want to get back to crit builds, actually, could work out to not be the worst thing. Especially we got a new Mythic with full uptime on Major Force too, So, I don't know. If you want to play something beyond just the standard Nightblade stealth ganker one and done hit, You know? Grim Focus. This ability and its morphs now stack up to 10 times rather than up to 5. Decrease the weapon and spell damage granted per stack by 25% on all abilities now that their max stat count has increased. More specifically, weapon and spell damage is reduced to 45 for Grim Focus and Merciless Resolve, down from 60 per stack. And reduced to 60 for Relentless Focus, down from 80. These abilities no longer permanently glow while slotted, instead only glow when you have one or more stack of the ability. This means the glow will remain if the stacks remain unspent, but can be easily solved by using the ability or simply reslotting it to remove the stacks. The days of endless permaglow are over. I actually don't know where the numbers sit on this currently from the last time I had played. But how much weapon damage has this class been getting out of this skill? What the fuck? I don't even know. It's a buff overall. Well, yeah, instead of 5 stacks at those numbers, we're getting 10 at this, right? So we're getting 450. This class just... Isn't this the thing that shoots out the skill that does like 15,000 damage to me? Right? That shit's giving you 450 like weapon spell damage when you use this shit? Who'd have thought? You can still proc the bow at 5 if needed. Alright. Okay. Wow. Good stuff. How long can you keep this up, though? Like, does it eventually fade, right? Like, you have to build this, you have to rebuild the stacks then? Like, when the buff fades? Like, how long does this buff last? Not when you use it, you can hold the stacks. What? It's infinite. It stays until you use it. It lasts forever. Alright. I don't... Sometimes it's good I've stepped away. Alright. Hang on, there's a developer comment. We're allowing for the over-generating stacks for this ability, so missing activation on the final stack don't severely reduce the effectiveness of this ability, which adds up to the course of the fight. Now it allows for more wiggle room, letting you chamber up to 2 shots if you reach max stacks, which also allows for more creative use as well. As such, we're reducing the passive power of this ability when using this ability similarly as before, where you fire a shot every 5 to 6 seconds while increasing the passive power if you wait to use it back to back. This should also allow for the ability to fit into more playstyles, especially for heavy attack builds that lost a stack every time they reach the cap. This is like a double pump shotty, dude. How's that more creative? What build couldn't this fit into? Who looked at this skill and said it needs to be more flexible? If you did nothing to this skill, everybody would have wanted it still. It did a huge burst with no cast time that apparently also is giving me 400 spell weapon now or whatever. They're like, let's those are rookie numbers. Let's push that up a little bit and let's get a double pump out of this bitch. We need flexibility out here. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Grim Focus. I still stand by the fact that they should do like a PvP stream at least once a month. And they have to, it has to be like no talking, like no killing time. Like you got to go back to back in BGs or you're in Cyrodiil the whole time. As soon as you die, you release, you get back to the front. I want to see like 2 hours of PvP from developers. And you have to be on the active fucking environments that we have. Love to see it, dude. Love to see the grim focuses rain down. Yeah, vengeance is definitely a need. But all right, we'll say that more than a couple times. Let's keep moving. Shadow, Dark Vigor, increase the max. I'm not even familiar with the Nightblade skills as much because I remember the last patch note I did. I think I just kind of lost it reading through the Nightblade. And Shadow, Dark Vigor, increase the max health from this passive to 5% per shadow ability, up from 3%. Why do they need max health? This isn't the class that's supposed to get max health for their stuff. Siphoning, Catalyst, increase the amount of ultimate this passive grants to 30 when consuming a potion, up from 20. Wait a second. The other classes were getting knocked on their passives, and the Nightblade's getting boosted. They're acting like, listen, we're putting subclassing in the game, and obviously Nightblade's not up to snuff. So we gotta bring them up a little bit. We gotta get those numbers up so people actually want to play this class. Did you guys know nobody wants to play this class? Believe it or not, nobody's playing it. What the fuck? Okay, Magicka Flood. This passive now increases your max magic and stamina by 6% when you have a siphoning ability slotted, rather than increasing your max magicka by 8% when you have an ability slotted. Okay, 6% to match magicka and stamina, so 12% instead of 8. Okay, they buffed that. And they still call it Magicka Flood. Soul Siphoner. Reduce the rank 1 of this passive to 1% healing done per ability slotted, down from 2. Whoa, nerfing them. They're crazy healers too. Alright, and that's it. Alright, there you go. Nightblade. What a weird thing to change too. There's so little changes here, but they threw on the double pump, the Grim Focus. Are you kidding me? That's like being like, hey, the Sorc Stager Curse, it blows up, and instead of blowing up again in 6 seconds, you can press the button again and it blows up again. This will allow for more creative vibes while you're playing the video game. Enjoy. Right? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Especially after, like, noting PvP things earlier in this shit. Like, who was it with? The Templar with Radiant Glory. Right? We got killed by Beam, so we nerfed that, but you never got killed with a Grim Focus combo? Sheesh, okay. Moving on, Sorcerer. Daedric Summoning, general skill line, removing the separation of a pet versus no pet build in this skill line. Now that subclassing is here, those who do not wish to interact with the pet gameplay can now replace this skill line as a whole. Many abilities in this skill line have been adjusted with this in mind. Wow. Conjured Warden morphs. Conjured Warden and Hardened Warden no longer heal the you if you do not have any pets active. Okay. Regenerative Warden now heals you for 5% of your max health or max magic if you have a pet active. This is big, right? The Ward's still healing for a shitload currently on live, right? The U is getting nerfed here. The U is no longer getting healed. Am I reading this right? Regenerative Ward, and this is only if you have pets then. And Daedric Prey, this ability now, Circular finally, yeah. Yeah, I think so. So you could be a Sorc with, if you're a Sorc, you drop Daedric Summoning, okay? And try to add some, you know, a lot of people don't use it. It's not very desired. But instead of using the Daedric Summoning line, hey, maybe you could put in the Grim Focus. You know what you need with your frags? You need some Grim Focus popping off. Okay? Add some pressure into your range damage. You're forced to have the pet now for it to still heal you like it is on live. Okay, that's what I thought. I mean, the shield itself is still strong, but the heal made it a very effective, like, it was kind of single use powerful. Unless it had got nerfed sometime in the last year when I was gone. But I was pretty sure it wasn't. Anyway. move on. This ability now increases the damage your sorcerer pets deal to your target by 50%. Instead of increasing the damage all your pets deal to the target by 45. Ooh. Any necros in the chat? Is there? We do have one necro player in this chat who was hoping he could leverage this with blast bones. With subclassing here, we remembered that we hate necromancers. And we've had to adjust this ability to prevent them becoming egregiously overpowered when paired with maximum use case of pets. We've gone forward with a model that largely retains the power where it already lies, where it buffs Sorc pets but slightly limited, where it no longer works with proc-based pets or other classes pets. Okay. There you go. Necro's still dead. Rebate. This passive now restores 371 magic or stamina when a non-ultimate Daedric summoning ability ends, up from 300. Okay. 371 is the new number on the spreadsheet. I feel like I've seen that, right? No, it's the only one. Wow. That's not clean. Alright. Daedric protection. This is now reduces your damage taken by 5% with a Daedric summoning ability is active, instead of increasing your health and recovery by 20 with Daedric summoning ability slotted. This recovery bonus has been merged into Storm Calling skill line instead. Ooh, really? Storm Calling stocks going up, which is what everyone would probably really be the first Sorc skill you might want to see a lot of people taking. A streak. Expert Summoner. This pass now increases max health, magic, and stamina by 5% if you have permanent pet active, instead of increasing your max health by 10% if you have permanent pet active. And max magicka and stamina by 10% if you do not have a permanent pet active. Ooh. I can already see people on the forums that play exclusive pet builds that are just fucking losing it right now. It's like the overland fucking open world only players are fucking just being like, what are they, how could they do this? Because like my general take right now, like even the way this is worded, we're removing the separation of the pet versus no pet build. So if you don't want to deal with this shit anymore, just throw it out. Just actually put this skill line in a trash can and go ahead and pull something from our, the variety bin. So that's like how it starts to read up front. And there's nothing like exciting going on here beyond that. The Grekon, the Giant. Thank you for the 83 months. Welcome back. Thanks for the resub. Appreciate it, dude. Welcome back. What's next here? Bound Armor, also in Daedric summoning line. This ability now stacks up to 8 times, up from 4. Oh, this is another double pumper. This is less punishing and has a flexible fit into the crystal weapon rotation. Activating this ability will still only shoot up to 4 of the bound daggers at a time. With subclassing here, we adjusted this ability egregiously overpowered when paired with maximum use case of pets. We've gone forward. The model largely retains the power while already lies where the... Can you double pump it? Stacks up to 8 times, up from 4. Activating shoots 4. The only difference is that this skill sucks to use in comparison. It really kind of does suck. But it doesn't say they double pump, but they say you only shoot 4. I think you can probably double pump this, and they just didn't put it in here. Well, check it out. I think this might be the same thing. Which could be interesting. Alright, the Bound Armor Grim Focus build. Where you're just... You're firing off. You're just cutting them loose. Cost-free damage is flying out. Maybe not. Dark Magic, Crystal Shard, Crystal Frag. This ability's passive slot now. Persists through bar swap, allowing casts for both bars potentially trigger the insta-cast version. This is huge. This is huge. We've lagged a bit behind on updating this more to persist through the bar swap out of concern for making Sorcerer that much more powerful in PvP areas. where they're not really hurting. With subclassing hero, however, we said fuck it, we don't care anymore, and the idea of the classic classes being too overpowered is less of a concern for the new world of truly specialized builds. This morph can be given a little bit of extra love to help the skill line have more value for damage dealers, as it lacks other very potent damage producing abilities. There you go. Oh man, subclassing is gonna be weird. Persistence, because like you have other things. Oh man. All right. This passive now reduces the cost of your next health, magic, and stamina ability after blocking by 18%, up from 15%. Okay. I didn't even know that was okay. Storm Calling, Lightning Form, Hurricane. The final damage tick of this morph no longer does the ramping damage bonus. It's over. Hurricane's dead. Mage's Fury. This ability is morphs now lasts for 2 seconds. Down from 4. Okay. That's not as long. We're tuning down the grade speed of this infamous auto-execute ability, both in anticipation for subclassing and to tone down the sorcerer's ability to easily secure kills, especially when they themselves aren't always the ones earning it. Since the class has been given plenty of other effective increases to their kit over the years, we're much more confident in this iteration of the ability to ensure it still feels significantly different and unique to other executes, while being less effective as being a guaranteed death sentence. It's a second death sentence. Nerfed. Alright. Capacitor. This passive now increases your health, magic, and stamina recovery by 141 instead of 10%. I don't even know what this one is at the moment. I don't know what it's or is it, that's just auto, probably. Okay. Expert Rage. This passive now increases your weapon and spell damage by 108 per sorcerer ability slotted instead of 2% per ability slotted. Okay. Pulling back off percents and putting in flats, which isn't actually necessarily always like a bad or a bad thing. For more balanced builds especially. What do we think here? You're going to replace the skill line with the Warden Animal Companion and you're going to like it. Yeah. I can't wait to see Warden actually. Warden's here, dude. Listen, Warden is one of the most... it's juiced. Each one of Warden's skill lines feels in its own way a little too juiced too in different ways. So it's a little crazy to kind of think about putting this thing together with other stuff. Let's check it out. Let's see what they did. Let's see where Warden sits. First we have the animal companions. We have the bond with Nate. I want to see if what they did with Shulks. Bond with Nature. Increase the healing from this passive to 1530, up from 1260. All right, we're starting off with a buff to Bond with Nature. Okay. That's a passive. Let's give him a little more. Give him a little more. Just a little. Just nudge him. Nudge him forward. Flourish. Increase the magicka and the stamina recovery granted from this passive to 20%, up from 12%. See this? Other classes are changing percents to flat numbers. You know what they did with the Warden? They said, fuck you, double it. Double that percentage. Get those recovery numbers up. We need to attract people in here. Okay, 20% magic and stam recovery. Okay, you're going to be flourishing all right on the Warden. Advanced species, increase the crit damage. Increase the crit damage granted from this passive to 5%, up from 4% per skill slotted. Get him in. More power. Green bounce. Nature's gift. Increase the magic and stamina restored from this passive. 277, up from 250. God, look at the Excel spreadsheets. They're going to town with these numbers. 277. Bump it up. 25? No. Bump it up by 27. Emerald Moss. Increase the healing done by green bounce abilities to 5% per green bounce ability slotted. Up from 2. From 2 to 5. That's 5 buffs in a row. Can we go for 6 on the Warden? Lotus Flower. Decrease the healing done? Are you kidding me? Decreasing? Decreasing the healing done from fully charged heavy attacks from this ability and its morphs to 2.3 times stronger than the light attack value, rather than 3 times stronger, resulting in a 23% healing reduction on a skill nobody uses? I can't believe this. Let's move on. All right. It's good. Lotus Flower needed to take the fall here. Okay? Glacial Storm. Winter's Embrace. The Ice Tree. Yes. Northern Storm. I don't want to see that. Reduced. Take that word out of the... Reduce the damage tick this ultimate by 33%. Repeating, of course. That's not clean math, dude. That's going to crash Cyrodiil if you got a repeating number. Now grants 2% damage done per stack, rather than 50 weapon and spell damage. 2% is 50. I think that's a buff. Increase the duration of the stacks. That's a buff. Increase the duration of the stacks to 12 seconds per application, up from 5. Resulting in a total duration of 20 seconds, up from 13. This is Northern Storm only, by the way. We're lowering the damage per tick on this ultimate to reduce how powerful it is in PvP situations, while simultaneously building more potential power in its residual effects, so it remains dangerous and impactful with less burst damage potential from the ability. Yes, more power. More with less. 13 seconds? No way, 20. 20. This fucking class, dude. More power. Frozen Gate. Updated this. Alright, let's see what they did to Frozen Gate. Does this still pull 400 meters through walls? Updated this ability as more to be more performant on the server, while also making sure they pull eligible targets more responsively. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. Frozen Retreat. This morph synergy should no longer remove itself if multiple areas were stacked in the same spot. Okay. Good. Huge. All right. Nothing so far is bothering us really on this class. We're feeling stronger. We're getting stronger and stronger. Ball groups are just more Warden power. Glacial Presence. This passive now increases your chances of applying Chilled by 250%, up from 200%. Adjusted the scaling of damage bonus to 10.55% of the higher of your weapon or spell damage, rather than just 10%, because we need to increase everything here. All right? Of your weapon and spell damage. And 1% also. Let's throw this in. Throw in 1% of my max magic and stamina as well. Slap it on the back end. More calculations. Okay? But those, if I see more than 5 Necropets at a time in Cyrodiil, I'm literally going to report players. I'm going to actually ask them to be reported mass on stream so we can just get the mass banned right away. I don't want to see Necros out there summoning shit. Not more than 5 at a time. Okay. Next one, Frozen Armor. Increase the armor granted from this passive to 1240 per Winter's Embrace, up from 990. Good. A little more armor. Okay. The DK got it. Why shouldn't I? Right? You know? Icy Aura. This passive now causes attackers in melee range to receive a stack of Winter's Bite for 3 seconds. Up to 5 stacks. Max. Attackers at 5 stacks are afflicted with Major Maim for 3 seconds. This passive no longer reduces the effectiveness of snares against you by 15%. Alright, more offensive potential here. You know? Why shouldn't we? Okay. Wow, okay. Let's end with another buff. Piercing Cold. This passive now increases your frost damage by 10% and the amount of damage you can block by 8% permanently. This changes from the previous effect, where whenever you deal frost damage, you gain Piercing Cold for 6 seconds, which increases the amount of damage you can block by 12% of your max health is above 30,000 or increase the damage. What the fuck are we talking about? Who makes this passive? What was it? Let me read this once. Whenever you deal frost damage, you gain Piercing Cold for 6 seconds, which increases the amount of damage you can block by 12% of your max health, is above 30,000 or increased your damage by 8% if you did not. I don't know. I'm just going to say this is probably a buff, right? This passive now increases my frost damage, and I can block more damage permanently. Good. Good. Yeah, that's what we need. Any developer comments on why I just got 20 buffs on a Warden with Flame Lotus nerf? One sentence. We're simplifying this passive to be less of a if-or case. The subclassing is here, making it less disruptive. I thought there was going to be an explanation on like, listen, I know it looks bad, but nah, dude, this Warden's looking good, dude. Warden's looking good. Wow. Okay, a lot of power here. A lot of power. Clean. A lot of power. Okay. Most classes have been buffed at this point. Except the Dragonknight. Dragonknight looks like they kind of kicked you in the shin. And they're just, that was it. You know, they didn't really fuck with you too much, but they knocked your sustain back a little bit. The Templar, cool jab stuff. The Sorc. Did I feel really buffed on a Sorc? I don't know. I didn't really feel like I moved too much. The frag change is really big. You know, mages, okay. Yeah, okay. Chain passes aren't bad. The Sorc pet line. This is probably just going to anger our peers on the forum. The Nightblade, not a lot moved, but they gave double pump on Grim Focus, which is really weird because a lot of people are going to pick that up. But damn, Warden across the board just juicing. Juicing up here. Sorc gutted 2 TBH. Do you think so? What do you mean? Because of the shield? Why do you say that? I not that I disagree. I just I didn't really play Mag Sorc, and I was functionally playing a support version of my Sorc, and I haven't played much in the past year except just pulling people. Wasn't bad overall to Sorc, but Mag Sorc not good. Oh, I agree with that entirely. Mag Sorc's definitely impacted by the changes, and beyond that, just a pure Mag Sorc versus the changes we're seeing here. But then beyond that, the subclassing ones, we have to kind of consider everything now in a subclass context too. Nice 10% max mag on Sorc. They changed that passive. It was a if then, right? Health magic is stamina by 5% if you have a pet active. Now increase your max health by 10% if you have a pet active. But if you don't have a pet active, you get 10% max magic of stamina now on Expert Summoner. So, who had that? You need a pet now. That's what it was. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If I had to pick, I'd rather have the max health. Yeah. No, you don't get any max stats if you don't have a pet. What? Pass now increases. Oh, instead. Okay, this is what it was. Yeah, I read through it too quick because I just hate all this shit. Okay, this pass now increases your max if you have a permanent pet active. Okay, so you're either like committing to a pet Sorc or you're just, you know, which is kind of what that was setting up to be. But okay, all right, let's move on. Everybody's been juiced. Necro is the weakest class in the game. It has been for about a long time, actually. A long time. At least a few years. So its buffs must be fucking insane. Like, they're going to get buffed through the roof. Outside of the fact that they're limited at 5 pets. You know, what are you going to do? But okay. Outside of that, though, we're about to see some juice. Let's see it. Necromancer, Gravelord, Flame Skull. This ability is forced now generate a corpse on their 3rd cast, near where the targeted enemy was. Okay. Corpse generation is effect now. It's 3-second cooldown to mitigate how easy it is to reach the summoned corpse limit. Jesus Christ. Alright, we're already starting off like, okay. Sacrificial Bones. This morph no longer causes your Flame Skull to generate a corpse, as your base ability now does that. Isn't this the armor buff? No way. Alright, hang on. I'll bring it up on my other screen so I can see things. Bones. Sacrificial Bones. Oh no, that's the other cast of Blast Bones. Ugh. Okay, so Blast Bones doesn't generate a corpse anymore? You have to use Flame Skull? Why do they assume that everyone's going to use the skill that they want? I don't use Flame Skull. I've never used it. I'm not saying it's a terrible ability. I don't use it. I feel like your base ability now does that. That's like assuming I'm going to use Frag on my Sork with my build. Like, Frag does that. Okay, whatever. That's stupid. That's really dumb. That's the shitty Blast Bones morph, yeah. Venom Skull's actually really strong. I remember it got buffed, and I know it's strong. I'm still saying, aren't I allowed to play how I want, dude? Why can't I play how I want? No, it's not just PvE now. It's very effective, Skull. Anyway, all right, let's move forward. Death Knell, which was a strong passive. This passive now increases your crit chance by 20% against targets under 33% health if you have a Gravelord ability slotted, rather than granting 10% crit chance per ability slotted. Okay. That's good. You could ramp this up, but I mean, you could just have one ability slotted, and it's not always the best, but it's not bad. Some people, at least for PvE, you got that higher, but... Hey, Boston, thank you for gifting in Speezes. Speezes. Thank you. Appreciate the gift. For old time's sake. Reusable parts. Passive now reduces the cost of your necromantic summon by 66%, up from 50%. Okay. Just remember, this passive now grants 3,200 offensive pen when a Gravelord ability is active, up from 1,500. Okay, that's a significant pen boost. None of these are crazy, but they're like quality of life boosts for me. I feel like I have to use Skull on. I feel like I like to use Blast Bones, and I appreciate the delayed damage, but I feel like I have to use Skull with this now. You know? And I don't know how I feel about that, but alright. Nothing crazy, though. At all. Gravelords does make a corpse. It doesn't cause Skull to make a corpse anymore. They moved that effect from GLS to Skull innately. Wait, what's Gravelord? Is Gravelord... Yeah. What the hell's Gravelord? I thought that was the root ability, man. You're killing me. Listen, you're the only person in this chat that plays Necro. You use terms like descriptive terms. Gravelord's sacrifice equals sacrificial bones. It's the drunk Blast Bones. Now we're talking, Lalicus. There we go. The one that goes at you instead. Oh, dude, I totally forgot they morph changed the one Blast Bones to hit yourself. I totally forgot when they did that. Okay. That's Gravelord's sacrifice? This morph no longer causes your Flame Skull to generate. Okay. I don't even want to talk about any of that. Let's keep moving. Bone Tyrant. Bone Armor. This ability morphs no longer create an unconsumable corpse if you are not in combat when the abilities end. This also applies to abilities or recast with at least half the duration passing. If you are not in combat when meeting its requirements, they will not generate. Note, the actual summoned creatures, such as Skeletal Mage, that die while not in combat will continue to generate a visual corpse that cannot be consumed. Alright, Grave Grasp. Empowering Grass. This morph now improves the minor maim to major maim against enemies rather than increasing your summoned creature's damage by 1,000. We were just making fun of this skill earlier for the patch notes. This morph has always struggled to find an impactful place for the buff effect, mainly due to how your necrotic summons tend to stick to your far sides, making the aiming minigame feel more frustrating than satisfying. Additionally, with subclassing here, this effect would have needed extreme simplification and reduction to prevent it from creating problematic combinations, especially since the skill line does not have any pets to summon. We're simply moving forward with the morph rather than improve the core functionality for tanks, since that's the focus of the skill line as a whole. Okay. Alright. This skill still sucks, right? Like, this is the thing that summons 3 circles that do, like, different effects each, right? Like, trying to hit people with this in Cyrodiil is fucking insane. You know? So, it's like playing skee ball, you know, on the highway. Like, it's... Anyway, it's cool. It does major maim, though. Okay? We're not hitting idle targets. We're not hitting target dummies. Okay? We're fighting people that are moving around. This passive now increases your healing... And that's the other thing, is it does 3 different effects. You can't even hit the same person with them all. This passive now increases your healing taken by 3% per bone tyrant, up from 2%. Weak buffs. Last gasp. This passive... You know what else is happening? They moved... Did you notice with a lot of the other classes, they moved the per ability slotted? They even did it on this one. They're like getting away from this because they want you to like slot different things now. Because you're going to have access to different classes' skill lines. Why are we still doing this here? Why is it still per bone tyrant ability? No. Last gasp. This passive now increases your max health. 2400 up from 1200. Okay. Tiny weak buffs. Okay. Living death. Curative curse. This passive now increases your healing done by 12% while negative effect is active, up from 8. Okay. That's not bad. Near-death experience. This passive now increases your crit chance with healing base on your target's missing health. Up to 12%. Down from 20%. Oh, that's a nerf. Okay. Less crit healing. This passive now increases your health, magic, and stamina recovery by 155% while a necromantic pet is active, down from 200. Okay. So living death is getting punched. This is a really... I guess they fear other healer classes taking the advantage, especially from like this. I mean, you can already... You're going to be able to... If you really want to make like a healer now, different classes are having lines that just give flat healing done. Like, you can pick up 3 different flat healing done passives. And they're actually shaping these skill lines in such a way where they're like, yeah, go for it. Go for it. You can get like 36%, you know, fucking passive healing done before you factor in sets and you're at, you know, putting on, what is it, the lover? No, not the lover. Whatever. It's penetration. I forget. Anyway, like, you can get a lot more healing percent done. It's going to be... Healers are going to be... We're going to be going up. We're going to be going up in healing. Same goes for tank and DPS at that rate, too. It's true. I'm just saying... When you apply, here's the thing you have to factor. And it's not just bursts, but bursts are significant environments when we're combining bursts, either in a one-on-one gank scenario or in a group versus group AoE scenario. But one thing to factor is when you have group versus group, or ball groups in this case, and you start to factoring the percent healing done, and you pack that on with various hots, and now you're going to have ball group healers that add on unique hots from different classes, and they stack, and they're passive stack. So all their passive percent healing numbers are going up. Oh, going up. It's just gonna be stupid. It's gonna be really dumb. Like, vengeance, they need vengeance tomorrow, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? It's going to be gross. It's going to be really gross. The fact that they're even the fact that they set up like multiple paragraphs to talk about how Necro's summons were being capped at 5. is just, that's why I'm saying it's so crazy to me. It's actually wild. It's wild to me. Anyway, let's move on. Overall, the Necros, very underwhelming. I am sitting in the whelm department. Let's keep moving. What other classes do we got to talk about here? The Arcanist. Very great passives on the Arcanist. Beautiful, some say. Herald of the Tome. Fate Carver. Increase the cost of this ability in Smorse by 40%. Increase the damage of this ability in Smorse by about 8%. These abilities can now hit a maximum of 6 targets rather than having no targets capped. That's the beam? Damn. I guess this class has been out for over a year now. It's time. Welcome to reality, bitches. You know? Thanks for buying the Arcanist. Why don't you go ahead and sit on this and spin? Okay. Splinter Secrets. This passive now increases your offensive penetration per Herald of Tome ability slotted by 1240, up from 991. Okay. Pen up a little. It does now increase your weapon and spell damage by 284 when you are restored magicka or stamina instead of 5%. Okay. Rip my beloved Arcanist, yeah. Yeah, six targets on Fate Carver is fucking stupid. We have sold our Necrom chapter. Goodbye, Fate Carver. Like, there's so many great places of content where 6 targets ain't. Especially with spell or subclassing coming in. Yeah, I got other things that hit more than 6 targets. My untouched shocks, might I add, in that list. My hybridized major, minor, AoE, no limit to my targets shocks. Okay. Yeah. It kind of needed a nerf, but like, I know it needed a nerf. I'm just saying, 6 targets. Okay. There's a lot of people that do PvE and they hit more than 6 targets, and I imagine for PvE they probably won't like that. And with subclassing, you can probably cook up something better. Maybe not though. I don't know. Yeah. So let's move on. Shocks of 6 targets would trigger the ball groups. Yeah. Shocks are the only way to kill ball groups. I know. I hear you. I'm just saying, but. Alright, Rune Forms, Arcanist Domain. This ability in S'mores, minor buff, effects now properly adhere to the standard 6 target cap. Wow, 6 targets, huh? Okay. The healing is more of now sort and apply to heal to the lowest targets in the area rather than having no sort or simply applying to the first 6 targets who enter the area. Okay. Healing Tides passive now increases healing done per crux by 4%, up from 3%. Hideous Clarity. This passive now restores both mag and stam instead of just the highest of your max resources. Okay. Soldier of Apocrypha. Aegis of the Unseen. This passive now increases your armor by 3200 while you have an active ability, up from 1980. Wellspring of the Abyss. Passive now increases your health, magic, and stamina recovery by 81 for each ability slotted, down from 129. These kind of abilities, they did it for some classes, and some they're just all purpose and passive with pretty good numbers. It's kind of weird. But all right, we even got weapon skill changes. Look at this: dual wield, hidden blade, shroud of daggers. The bounce daggers from this ability now come from the target they bounced off of. Restoration staff. This ability in S'mores will no longer cause unnecessary server strain. Okay. Additionally, the buff effects granted from these abilities no longer bypass line of sight. Alright, and that's it. Wow, okay. No more weapon changes. Soul Magic, Soul Strike. Explosion from this ultimate is now considered channel to direct damage. Huge. Alliance War, Assault, Magic Debt. Damage and visual from this ability are now in sync with one another. Cool. Alright. That it? That's it for classes and weapons. Still no class execute for Arc. Well, you can get Beam or Mage's Wrath or something else now. Yeah, the server strain's gone. Scribing. Whenever a scribed ability receives major changes in the behavior or balance, the ability will be reset to its base form and requires reselection of the scripts. In this process, the inks will be granted. Okay. I don't know. Whoa! Ulfsted's contingency. Increase the cost of all damaging versions.
I'm coming to get you.
To up 200. Increase the cost of the damage shield to 4,800, up from 3,500, as they were missing 50% cost increase that healing and shielding abilities are meant to have. Were they missing that? How long were they missing that? How long has it been? Has it been like a year? Did you miss the 50% cost increase for like a year? It's crazy. If you PvP'd and saw every person casting this non-stop in a ball group every single night, maybe you would have noticed. But they're missing the 50% cost increase on this really cheap AoE damage shield. Huh. Yeah, I really trust you with the numbers out here. I really trust that you got it all under tabs. Lichborn, thanks for 23 months. Appreciate the prime. Welcome back. Thank you for the resub. Thank you. Yeah, what do you know? 50%, huh? Okay, fix an issue where the healing and damage shield versions of this ability were not properly treated as damage shield and healing abilities for many passive interactions, such as intricate rune forms. For these fixes to properly apply to the existing variants of this grimoire, your selections of focus and signature and affix scripts have been reset for contingency and will need to be reapplied to be cast again. This will also require you to resave over armory loadouts. Ulfsted's contingency has found its way into many loadouts, offering powerful abilities that can happen simultaneously with other abilities cast, making it fantastic for adding burst damage or turning the tide of combat with a big shield or heal. Okay. When we originally made this ability, we were worried about how it would fit into many builds, as the notion of chambering abilities is more complex and skill reliant than other straightforward activations. So we set things like cost to be much easier to utilize in the hopes of making the abilities more accessible. If you set any ability in the game to be chambered, it only increases its potential because it can be stacked and utilized at the same time. It actually is never weaker. It's never, ever weaker to have a chambering ability. So what you're saying here is by making a chambered ability, you made it cheaper because you weren't sure if people would use it. That tells me you don't understand combat, because the ability to chamber anything is always going to increase its utility, because everything else in the game can't be chambered. What are we talking about here? Kidding me? So weird. So weird. So we set things... Okay. However, we created a case where the two defensive options of this grimoire became incredibly dense at a relatively cheap cost, allowing it to be cast and maintained much more than other abilities. As such, we're moving this closer to the cost of other straightforward abilities. It still has some unique advantages for its unique use requirements. In addition to this, since these relatively simple adjustments needed a large refactor of how the ability was built under the hood, we're resetting selections of scripts so that the changes are properly respected on the server. See, this is why you guys have I get so triggered reading dumb shit like this. Okay, cool. Made it through. The developer comment. Turn the tide of battles. Scripts, focus scripts. Bleed. Some scribed abilities using this focus now properly interact with sets such as Rokar Claws or Dragon's Appetite. Signature scripts. Class Master and Nightblade. The activation conditions for this script now properly line up with the tooltip. Okay. What else do we have? Got food changes. So do you think it should be relevant in here? I don't know if there is. The set changes. Azure Blight. This set now requires 20 additional stacks of Blight Seed for each group member wearing this set. Didn't this set get gutted? I don't think that matters, right? The dead AI writing. That's the fucking damnedest thing. It's not AI writing, dude. That's not AI writing. Could be maybe a little bit, but it's always been that way, okay? It's just needlessly stupid explanations. You know, I want to connect as most people do. You want to connect as a human with people. If you need certain language to explain things, go for it. But like, try to explain things to me in such a way to. For me, this is like, listen, I don't learn. Like when we made this ability, we were worried that how it would fit into many builds, as the notion of chambering abilities is more complex and skill reliant than other straightforward activations. As a result, because they thought that it was too complex and skill reliant, because of that, they set things to be much easier to utilize in hopes of making it more accessible. Translation: we didn't think people would use this because it's too skilled to use a skill and it doesn't fire until your next action. It's like, okay. There are things like this in the game, like the crystal weapon morph or the Sigic weapon morph. This is where you use the skill and its effect is followed up on after, right? This is the concept, so to speak, of chambering something. Or Grim Focus, to be like, oh, I build up stacks and now I have to press a button like Bound Armaments and it activates the effect and it hits the target now. Yes, this is kind of the sense of chambering it. You're afraid that that is too complex and skill reliant, that people have to do something. Like, I don't know what you mean. Here's what actually it is. What it is like, what are the ramifications? That's the fucking word you're looking for. What are the ramifications of putting on a skill that could potentially be an AoE shield or an AoE damage? And it could be worked in and delayed and synced up with something like, oh, I don't know, Dawnbreaker, or any of the things people posted on the forums when they talked about feedback, the very thing I ask for and that they flooded with. They're like, hey, can you guys give me feedback? And everyone's like, hey, this skill is overperforming. And they're like, that's great. I'm seeing that feedback. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a year, okay? Let me give it a year and then put in this dumb fucking developer comment next year, next spring, where I explain people like they're fucking 10-year-olds about chambering abilities and how it's too skill reliant. That's why this shit pisses me off. It's insane. It's insane. And what it is it's people not taking responsibility for doing dumb shit. That's what it is in the end. You do dumb shit, like not read feedback, put in something stupid, and then you revisit it a year later and like, listen, I'm going to explain this in simple children's terms to you fucking idiots in the audience of why we didn't fix the thing that you all gave me feedback on, okay? And I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to do it again next year, okay? Because you're not able to connect with the fucking people and it frustrates you as a user base. And then you're wondering, like, why do the customers get angry over something? Like, that's why, dude. That's why. It's insane. It drives me nuts. Whatever. Is there anything else in these notes? A picture coloring book would be more beneficial. Yes. I would appreciate a free coloring book. Okay. So there's other quality of life things happening too. Alliance War and PvP. Oh, we gotta get something about Vengeance? We do. Wait. Vengeance campaign. Added weapon, assault, and support skill lines. These maintain the same scrutiny to minimize server performance impact, similar class abilities. Some functionality has changed on abilities to maintain this level of attention to server performance impact. Added a new pop-up when you enter Vengeance, explaining the rule set. Is this in? Is Vengeance just coming in? How is nobody spamming this in my chat? Where are the people that just spam trash in my chat? Where were you? This whole time you didn't read this. Is this in? Is the PTS up? Siege Merchant will now also sell bound tri-resto pots for 1,000 AP each. Okay. That's pretty cool, I guess, right? And people can buy endless tripods now. That's huge. Everyone's gonna come to Cyrodiil. Everyone wants tripods. Okay, Columbine markets and it's crashing. It's crashing harder than the U.S. stock market right now. Sell. Sell, 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 sell. Okay, Zuko's gonna come in there on the dip. Mr. Johansson, 59 months prime. Welcome back. Thank you for the resub. All right, there you go. Sell. Sell, sell, sell. Jumping between zones can no longer increase the amount of Telvar stones in a stack. Telvar stones from the daily. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Combat animation and memory reduction. What? Who is this? As part of the ongoing efforts to modernize ESO and improve performance, we've revamped player combat to use an additive animation system. Basically, this removes a lot of the redundant animation info, creating smaller file sizes that use less memory and driver space. This allows for us to create future content that loads quicker and allows for more animations to be played at once, even on computers with modest specs. For this task, the animation visuals are virtually indistinguishable from the existing game. The exception are light and heavy melee weapon attacks, which received some minor updates. First thing worth mentioning, there were no gameplay changes to light attack weaving or animation canceling. It still works exactly as it was before. However, the light attack animations now strike the target much quicker. This doesn't prevent you from weaving your next attack, but it tries to get to the point of impact quicker to better match what is happening on the server and give you more accurate visual feedback. Second, apart from the faster light attacks mentioned above, striking a target with a melee weapon should remain unchanged. However, missing a target with your melee weapon no longer makes you lose your footing and focus on the enemy. This is just a visual change, but it will hopefully make player characters look more skilled when they swing a weapon at nothing. Often one of the first things players do. Okay, interesting. I expect this to absolutely ruin combat. Last time they said it wouldn't do anything, it was over. All right, and weaving was crushed, and it never recovered. So let's check that out on the PTS. We got housing, we got miscellaneous changes, monsters, NPCs, UI, that's it. That's it. But Vengeance? Is this all it got? Is this really all it got? This is it. It's not even in a, it doesn't even have its own heading. What are they doing to you, Wheeler? Is this it? You get 2 bullets, Brian Wheeler? I know you didn't do the combat, Wheeler. That shit's way too fucking nerdy. Okay. Is the PTS up? Can we look? All I got on the 2 lines at the bottom of the notes, one of which is irrelevant. This is patch notes you expect for early access. No. These, yeah, dude. So, if they're going to run both campaigns at the same time, that'll be interesting. However, subclassing looks like something that'll be fun for like a week or 2 for PvP. It feels like it's going to be... I mean, this game's so unbalanced now. It's so imbalanced. Is unbalanced? I don't think it's a word. But, like, it's really imbalanced. Subclassing, they almost just buffed a lot of power potential. Healing is going to be through the roof. Okay? And from a group play perspective, fucking forget about it. Forget about it. Non-Vengeance group play is going to be so gross. It's already so gross. It's caused most people to play. Most ball groups are just the people that used to get smoked by the actual ball group gamers that played for the last few years. But they all stopped playing because there was nothing to do. So now we just have a lot of like scuffed players that group up and ball group because it's just so powerful. And the power creep just keeps growing. It really should just... They should already be communicating that they're phasing it out, probably. But I guess it would still stay in like our current PvP combat model should probably still stay for Battlegrounds. but it's gonna be fucking gross. I don't know. I don't know. Their players become powerful. In the ball groups, they do. It's wild, too, because, like, the subclassing could be a cool and fun concept, but I think it's going to be much more... it's going to have much more power creep and environmental impact in PvP than Scribing did. Much more so. Outside of ball group perspective, I'm saying, like, your class design. There will be clear winner and loser designs. There really will be. Okay? Thoughts so far? We're going to have some losers and some winners, Fernando. Okay? And, like, yeah, the Grim Focus. So, there's some obvious already existing play styles just mixed in with a couple of the other things, and then you just need to stand the build up. And, like, it seems like sustain won't really be too much of an issue. It really already isn't with just the sets built into the game that exist already. Wow. It's probably going to be bad news out there. And then beyond all of that, beyond all that shit, you can still... Here's the worst thing. Here's the worst thing for just like casual gameplay out there. Is you will be able to dress up the Nightblade to be a little more fierce than it already was. To gank, that is. You'll have a different ganker variant that just absolutely makes the place, like, not fun. So, it's time for vengeance. You know? And I just... It's funny to see different developer comments through here. Like this. We're lowering the damage per tick of this ultimate to reduce how powerful it is in PvP. Alright? Those of you that actually PvP in the chat, like Fernando PP, do you think Northern Storm? You know, look at this gruesome nerf on Northern Storm. It only lasts 20 seconds now. Okay? It's only going to give you 2% damage increase every tick for 20 seconds. Okay? So, while you're suffering and you're struggling to succeed on perhaps your newfound Warden, who is now also has improved healing and also has better crit damage with increased magic hit and stamina restored from his passive while increasing his damage, or I'm sorry, his healing done. Okay? Don't look at Lotus Flower. You might have to remove that from your build. I know you all had Lotus Flower built into your builds, but I'm sorry. It might be the time to replace Lotus Flower with, I don't know, maybe you put Crystal Shard in there. You know? I don't know. Have you thought about Grim Focus? It's not that great. You know? But you can get up to 10 stacks of, 45 damage. What's 450 more weapon damage going to do for your now near useless Northern Storm that only lasts for 20 seconds? It's only buffing it by 2%, that 450%. I don't know. Without Lotus... What can I do without Lotus Flower? You know? I don't know what to do. I want to see if... Is the PTS up? That's my live client. Because... I want to see if Vengeance is in. Dude, they don't even talk about Vengeance. How do you communicate like this? What's going on? They're like, by the way, the Vengeance campaign... we added some lines. They didn't even say what they are. If you don't want to treat this shit like an afterthought, you better act like it. Can you act like it? Hey, we added some shit on the one thing. Okay? New pop-up now when you enter in there. New pop-up. Some new stuff too. Check it out. Like, what's going on? And nobody communicated this. Nobody communicated this on their stream the other day with Vengeance. They're like, yeah, Vengeance, super excited. Words. Huge. And just like nothing. When the current model, again, take accountability on like Cyrodiil. And be like, hey, Cyrodiil is such a fucking crazy disaster that if new players go there, they probably hate themselves. They probably think so much less of themselves. And our player base already has a tough time doing that right now. So like, I don't know how they don't get ahead and like communicate this. Turn it into an opportunity. It's an opportunity to get people out there, which it can and should be. Like, what are we doing? The buff can last for 20 seconds. The storm is still 8 seconds. What is it? All right, whatever. Okay. All right, listen. Wardens are doing the Time Dazzler. It would be Time Dazzler that said that. All right, your Warden still looks great, Time Dazzler. All right, don't worry. Wardens are okay. You'll live without Lotus Flower.